What's going on, guys? It's your man Jay, and I'm back with another video. So the Pixel 4a was the first experience that I had with the 4a, or the new Pixel devices, and boy was I impressed. This phone retails for 350 bucks flat out. It's actually one of the best purchases that you could possibly buy if you're a person who's looking for a good size device, lots of power, great cameras, fantastic battery, and the software to support all that comes directly from Google. So this is a follow-up video on the Pixel 4a. This is roughly 5.5, maybe 6 months later with the Pixel 4a. So we're going to talk about in this video. Now, since having the Pixel 4a, I actually picked up the 4a 5G, and then Google also sent out the Pixel 5. So I have the complete lineup from Google and what they're offering from 2021 or 2020 to 2021. Now, we don't know what's coming next from Google when it comes to their smartphones, but I can tell you that all three of these devices here are absolutely great. And I think Google hit a milestone by bringing all the devices to you in a relatively close timeline, but they're giving you the options and they're spacing the pricing out to what they see as the best fit for the devices that they're offering. Now, the 4a came in at the most affordable, which is $350, and at one point, this beautiful 4a 5G, you could actually get it for the same price. And so that's why this phone ended up being phone of the year when it comes to a pocket device or pocket-friendly, budget-minded person that wants a powerhouse device from Google. But even at $499, it's still a great option. So $350 for this device. Google priced this perfectly, and even though they did the right thing by the consumers, some tech heads still cried over the price and said, oh, it's too expensive, it doesn't match the processor, blah, blah, blah. The reality is, this phone performs and outperforms several other phones on the market. Now, I will say that into 2021, the competition is getting really stiff. There are plenty of devices that are not officially US launch devices that they're going to always outshine devices in the US just based on price alone. They're offering a ton of specs for easily $100 to $150 less. And that is the toughest part about competing internationally, because I bring in phones that are not officially US, but you can use them in the US and you shouldn't have any problems. But the downside about that is we don't know about the support of the software, and that is where Google comes in. Now, the only other company I think that I've gotten continuous updates from on phones that are not officially announced in the US, and that is Xiaomi. Xiaomi has just always up this device is on their latest MIUI 12, and I think that's important to note. And that phone costs less than $200. But if you are in the United States and you don't want to take the risk of anything outside of that, and you want support, guaranteed support, then you need to shop for Google devices. And that is not a sales pitch, that is the truth. I truly believe that your true experience that you'll get is always going to come from stock Android, and this is the best representation of that. And that is why Google released 3 different devices in 3 different sizes, but they all pack one thing in common, and that is the software. This device, along with the other 2 devices, are on Android 11, and they are all on the January security patch, and we're in January 2021. In fact, I got the security patch for January 5th on January 4th, late in that evening. So Google is consistently pushing out the device updates, if that's what's important to you. Now, honestly, I will say that if this device never had gotten an update and it just would have been as is and it worked like it did right out of the box, like it still does right now, I'll be totally happy. It's a good size device. If you talk about software, it's great, but let's get about the hardware. Now, the hardware on this thing, I think it's came along at the right time. It's like Google predicted, oh my gosh, facial recognition is not going to even be used by a lot of people here through the entire year of 2020. So we better go ahead and stick with the tried and true fingerprint readers. Now, the hardware on this thing, along with the fingerprint reader, is the perfect size to me. It is a small, compact device and it has a very large display. Now, you might think large display, well, Jay, it only has a 5.8. 5.8 inches, folks, is big. It's just that it's in such a small body. And then you remember when people were calling 3.5 inches on the display huge? Remember that? This is a full display, full screen. I think the it's evenly distributed too for the way they have it set up. I think Google has done a fantastic job with the hardware on here, giving you a fingerprint reader. Yes, I know facial recognition is important, but it's not as important as a rear-mounted fingerprint reader or a physical fingerprint reader. I think these things are important, not just because of what's going on in our society today, but just having a physical fingerprint reader is always going to work 99.9999% of the time. It has to be a horrible piece of software for this fingerprint reader not to work, or the hardware itself has to have some serious issues. Even on phones that cost $99, the fingerprint reader that's physically on them generally works most of the time. But with the 4A and the 4A 5G and the 5, it all works great. They got it in the right position. Putting a fingerprint reader on a device is also important, because you can put a fingerprint reader on a device, but it can be in the wrong position. I.e., this isn't the wrong position, but it is on the side of the device, and some people might not like that. And then you have Sony's little debacle by putting the fingerprint reader down in the center of the phone. That was silly. I don't understand that, but Google has done way too many things right with this device for it to get overlooked even in 2020. So hardware-wise, software-wise, flawless. But I named all the Google devices pretty much the king of cameras when it comes to still shots, and now video is really getting up there. It's not iPhone quality, it's not Samsung quality, but it is Google quality. With the right lighting, any device can have fantastic video footage, and this just remains to be seen by not just Google, other devices that are in the competition and competing for the likes of Apple and Samsung, because they do have some of the best video cameras, along with Sony and Huawei. They have great, I mean, there's just too many phones out there, brands to name, that have great cameras for video. But Google's video has always gotten questioned by consumers, or no, not consumers, tech heads have always said that Google had the worst video software ever, and it's just, or the video footage is just the worst. And I continuously not like want to prove them wrong, but I prove them wrong by shooting video with the Pixel 4a, with the Pixel 5, with the Pixel 4a 5G, just a whole bunch of Pixel devices. Pixel 4, I mean, I shot video for the channel with these devices and everyone loved it until they found out it was Google's device. So what does that really say? So being able to shoot 1080p at 60 and 4K 30, the quality is going to be what it is. It's all about the image processing that's coming from the sensor, and then Google's software, this Gcam thing that just floats around. Everybody says get Gcam, it can fix everything. Well, I say get a Google device if you want the best footage. And I think that Google's software has just gotten better and better and better as they improve on what they're doing for each device to the next. So I think the 4A's footage comes along flawlessly for what the device is. I mean, when you consider every other part of this device, if the video cameras are the weakest link in the device, that does not cripple the device. Because I think when you're saying it, some people might possibly say it's the weakest part of the device, but it's still very, very good. Let's take a look. All right, guys, here's the rear camera on the Pixel 4a, same spot, same everything, just holding it. Oh, this is handheld too, by the way. All right, guys, so here's a quick video sample from the Pixel 4a's front camera, sitting in the same spot where I'm shooting this video at. Now that wasn't so bad, was it? Right, same spot right here, shooting video, no adjustments made, just giving it to you just like this. I normally sometimes do a video of a device with the device. And some of you guys, somehow people just didn't believe that it was actually the phone. I thought that was pretty strange, but on this channel, we have something called integrity and honesty. And so we want to make sure we always keep it that way. I think this phone should not be overlooked when it goes into 2021. And the only fight that I think Google might have is competing against themselves like other companies. How are they going to top the Pixel 4a? Well, the Pixel 5a or the Pixel 6a, whatever they go to next, is going to have a headphone jack, a rear-mounted fingerprint reader, a low price tag like this, but step it up. It's going to have to step up the internal. It's going to have to give it a little bit bigger screen, or it's going to have to go with something 90 hertz. They're going to have to do something to take it over the top if they in fact do bring another Pixel lineup and do it like this lineup. So with that being said, it's still very easy and not hard to recommend the Pixel 4a over several devices out there. It's just going to be, what are you looking for? What are you going to use it for? How is it that you're going to try to place this in your life and you're going to keep it? Because see, reality is, there are a ton of people out there that actually keep their devices until they break, or they just keep them until 2, 3 years, 4 years. Sometimes it doesn't even break and they just want the next thing. And most people are dedicated like that, especially with Apple and Samsung. They'll buy a device even if their current device isn't broken or doesn't need to be updated. And that is where Google can win that market and shoot for the longevity game. You know, shoot for the game of, okay, this device did last me for 3.5 years. Now, by the time you see the next refresh, they're on the 8A line or the 9A, the Google 9A, the Google 10A, I don't know. But it's going to be better than this for sure in the future, if there is a future. It's your man Jay, Team Pixel all the way, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.